Beyond the buzzer, inside the game, this is Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Hey, glad you're with us here. Tuesday, November 18th. It's a Sports IQ. Another great show coming up for you today. Just a couple of minutes, we'll talk with Ray Fittipaldo, our friend from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, talking all things Steelers. Once again, they're sitting atop the AFC North. But boy, a treacherous road ahead. They still have Baltimore twice in the schedule. So we'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes here. And then later, Austin Nivison, our friend from CBS Sports, talking NHL. We're about the quarter point right now already of this season. So we'll take a look at some of the top stories, who's hot and who's not, and all things in between. But, there is so much, again, to talk about today. And if the old saying is of where there is smoke, there is fire, if it's true, Ole Miss fans, you better start forming a fire brigade around this football program. Reports surfacing late Monday that LSU had sent a private plane to Oxford to pick up members of Lane Kiffin's family for a tour of the Baton Rouge campus. That report from Wilson Alexander of The Advocate. Meanwhile, CBSSports.com's John Talty and Richard Johnson both confirming that Florida, which lost to Ole Miss on Saturday, had a plane pick up members of the Kiffin family for a visit to Gainesville on Sunday. Only time will tell if Kiffin leaves Ole Miss, but family members taking trips to other places sure does show that he is at least willing to listen, right? We'll see what happens. Watch this space. Meanwhile, in Blacksburg, the Virginia Tech Hokies have their new head coach, hiring former Penn State coach James Franklin to take over the program. Not a surprise. His name's been linked to the Hokie program ever since he was fired by Penn State. Franklin went 128-60 over 12 seasons with the Nittany Lions, and 3 at Vanderbilt as well. He brings a resume that includes winning more than 68% of his games, an appearance in last year's college football playoff semifinals, and a Big Ten championship in 2016. After firing Brent Pry, who was 16-24, Tech's Board of Visitors passed a plan to add $229 million to the athletic fund over the next 4 years. The move was to help make Tech a more attractive job and attract a candidate who could revive the school's lagging football fortunes. Virginia Tech, after Justin Fuente won 19 games in the first 2 years after Frank Beamer's retirement, the Hokies have had just one 8-win season over the last 7 years. They're 3-7 this year. Remember, under Beamer, they had 8 straight double-digit win seasons from 2004 to 2011. Again, that was under Frank Beamer. But boy, lean time since then. Now, the other winner in this whole scenario is Penn State, because of the size of Franklin's contract with Virginia Tech. The Nittany Lions buyouts for Franklin goes from $49 million down to $9 million. So a lot of champagne being popped there as well by some boosters. Hoops now. The new AP poll coming out on Monday. Purdue and Houston once again flip-flop. Now it's the Boilermakers after 1 week away, back in the number 1 spot. A couple of newcomers hitting the top 10 this week. Louisville jumps up to number 6 after beating Kentucky last week, and Illinois comes in at number 9, or number 8, I should say. The Illini, by the way, taking on 11th-ranked Alabama tomorrow. A couple of big games tonight. Michigan State, number 17, taking on Kentucky. This in the Champions Classic in New York City. Wildcats, they fall down to 12th in the country. And number 24th ranked Kansas plays number 5 Duke in the nightcap there at Madison Square Garden. On the gridiron, Dallas taking care of business in Las Vegas, beating the Raiders 33-16. George Pickens, a big night for Dallas. 9 catches, 144 yards and a score. Jamar Chase has been suspended for 1 game by the NFL for unsportsmanlike conduct after he spit on Jalen Ramsey during the Steelers' Week 11 win over the Bengals. Chase will be out for the Bengals' upcoming game. It's at home against the Patriots on Sunday, and he'll forfeit more than $500,000 in pay and bonuses for missing the contest. Boy, I tell you, that's some expensive saliva. Fresh off making his NFL regular season debut, Browns rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders expected to make his first career start when Cleveland faces the Raiders Sunday in Las Vegas. Sanders expected to start in relief of fellow rookie Dylan Gabriel, who is currently in the league's concussion protocol after he sustained a head injury during the first half of the Browns' loss to the Ravens last Sunday. NFL right now, joining us once again on the show is our friend, man. He makes time for us, and we are thankful when he does that. Ray Fittipaldo with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, talking a little Steelers news right now. Ray, good to see you again. The team coming off the big 34-12 win this weekend over the Bengals. Look, Cincinnati having its issues this year. But, it was great to see we were talking in the break before we came on, to see Mason Rudolph come in and play the way he does. The value of having a veteran quarterback there who can step in when needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you remember a couple of years ago, Mason Rudolph was asked to start the final 3 games of the regular season. He won all 3 games, and he got the Steelers into the playoffs that year. He actually had them in a competitive game in Buffalo in a wild card game. So he's been there. He's done that. And he was really good again on Sunday against the Bengals on that drive that put them ahead 27-12. I think it was late third quarter, maybe even early fourth quarter. He was 6 for 7 on that drive. He was converting third down. So he was doing exactly what that offense needed him to do in those situations.
It's just looking back, third round pick, like you said, he stepped in before on this, left the team, came back. Tony and I were talking about it in terms of when the quarterback and the money spent. You've got to have that kind of player, right? You've got to have that guy who steps up and will make things happen and could do so on a budget. And I think every team could use a Mason Rudolph, right, on their team.
And Mason Rudolph, the Steelers got him on the cheap after he was a starter last season for part of the season in Tennessee. He was a free agent. I think he's making less than like $4 million a season with the Steelers. So, for what he's done in the past for them, I think that's a really good number. And, like we said, he's just a pro. He's been around a long time. He's been a backup in this league. He's been a starter. You could have him come off the bench. You could have him start games. And he's going to be that steady, consistent guy that the offense needs him to be. So I thought he did a great job of distributing the ball against the Bengals. Some of his best plays, guys, were dump-offs into the flat to Kenneth Gainwell, who had a career game. He had over 100 scrimmage yards. Darnell Washington, I'm sure everyone by now has seen the highlight reel plays of him, bulldozing the Bengals secondary. So he was taking what the Bengals secondary gave him. He was letting his weapons do the damage in the open field, and those guys had great games.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking to Ray Fittipaldo, the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. So the Steelers right now sitting atop the AFC North at 6-4. It was one of those that we talked over the summer a couple of times about this team, in the offseason and again during camp, that the Steelers there was a question about Aaron Rodgers and what is he going to sign. He kind of waited late in terms of the way the calendar usually goes before finally making it a definitive. This is a team that just finds a way every year, no matter what you bring into camp. They're always right there in the mix and sitting at or near the top. And here we are, 2025. They're right there again.
Yeah, they're in an interesting spot. They got a 1-game lead over the Ravens, but if you look at some of the playoff predictors out there, Steelers only have like a 39% chance to make the playoffs, according to the New York Times. I think NFL.com gives them a similar low percentage, and the Ravens are actually up there around 80%. And the reason is the schedules. Like the Ravens have played all of their difficult games, and the Steelers have a bunch of difficult games ahead, starting this week at the NFC North leading Bears, who are a surprising 7-3. After that, they host the Bills, who are also 7-3. And then you have the Ravens. You have to go to Baltimore in 3 weeks. And at that point, the Ravens might be on a 6-game winning streak if they take care of business against the Jets and the Bengals. I think we all expect them to do that. So the schedules really aren't it's not in the Steelers' favor. They probably had to have a little bit of a bigger lead right now. But, hey, they're in first place. They kind of control their own fate here, and we'll see if they can hang on.
You do have Baltimore still 2 games against the Ravens. Obviously, they couldn't get anything done with the slew of injuries to start the season, including Lamar Jackson, who's been a league MVP. I think that's still, as you mentioned, still maybe the biggest concern is not just 1 but 2 games against a team that's kind of had their way with this division for the past several years.
Yeah, and Lamar Jackson is, I don't know if he's 100% healthy, but he's back now.
Yeah.
And now the Steelers are dealing with an uncertain situation at quarterback. So it seems like the Ravens went through all their stuff early in the season, and now the injuries are starting to mount for the Steelers. Their secondary is down a few guys. Deshaun Elliott might be done for the season. They have absorbed their share of injuries on the defensive side of the ball. That's the one thing we haven't talked about yet. That defense scored 2 touchdowns against the Bengals Kyle Duggar had a big 74-yard pick six, and then James Pierre, had a scoop and score late in that game to kind of put the icing on the cake. So they needed every bit of that defensive effort yesterday, and after a rough start to the season, that defense finally might be coming around.
That was kind of my next question. Is that's giving up 12 to the Bengals after coming off the loss to the Chargers. That defense, like you said, the questions at quarterback in terms right now with Rodgers or Rudolph, whatever you're doing. How important is this defensive unit to do what they did to create those opportunities to put those points on the board for this team to get wins and to try to get those wins before you get into the later part of the season?
Yeah, they've really done a nice job of changing on the fly. The first half of the season, they were a man coverage team. They thought that they could stick Jalen Ramsey at corner, Joey Porter and Darius Slay at corner and man up on guys. And honestly, it wasn't working. And a little bit through that realization, a little bit through the injuries I just talked about, they're playing more zone now. And they've made Jalen Ramsey a full-time free safety. He is not playing cornerback anymore. So you still have Joey Porter outside, but now James Pierre is outside. He's playing well. They've got some different faces in that secondary, but for whatever reason, they might not have the pedigree of a guy like Darius Slay or Jalen Ramsey as a corner, but they're playing well within the framework of that defense. They're playing a lot more zone. They're keeping the offense in front of them. They're not allowing the big plays. So it's more of a schematic tweak than a personnel tweak, even though there's been personnel changes. But what they're doing right now is working. Since that loss in Cincinnati a month ago now, the Bengals have lost 3 in a row. They're done. Steelers have won 2 of 3. And like we said, that defense is finally starting to come on a little bit.
Yeah, no question about that. As we look at the AFC right now and the leaders right there, New England, Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, and Denver, we were noticing last week that there's a similarity that one thing that all four have in common is none of them are paying the massive $50 million a year to a quarterback. Yeah. You've done this a long time. Talk about the roster construction and the difference that makes when you don't have that much of your cap locked up into one guy and the things you can do to put other pieces together. Again, right now, all four sitting atop the division and all four getting a bargain, if you will, at quarterback.
Yeah, it's nice when you're the Patriots and you don't have to pay a guy who's on a rookie contract. They only got like 1 or 2 more years of cushion on that. So we'll see if they can strike while the iron's hot. Daniel Jones is with the Colts is probably playing on a similar number to what the Steelers are paying Aaron Rodgers, like around 10 or 15 million per season. So you are absolutely correct. I don't know if the Steelers are the best example of this because they have a ton of money in their defense. And to this point, defense really hasn't played up to expectations. But what it does allow you to do, whether you're the Steelers, the Patriots, whoever, you could bolster your roster in other important places, like at linebacker, defensive line, secondary. You could pour resources into that, and that could be a part of your winning formula. So obviously Drake May, Daniel Jones are having great years. I don't want to undersell those guys, but Mike Vrabel and Shane Steichen, they've done a good job of roster building there and putting other positions on their team in position to help them win.
Yeah. What of the sticking with the AFC, which of these teams would be the biggest surprise? I mean, is it New England or is it Denver right now in terms of a team that's really, or even Indianapolis? What's the bigger surprise right now in the AFC?
Denver's got a really good defense. I don't want to undersell Bo Nix, but they still have trouble scoring sometimes. Drake May seems to be a little bit further along in his development. So I think the Patriots are probably the better team right now than the Broncos. But listen, the Broncos have a 4-game lead in that division right now. It would be a major disappointment if they don't win that division. So they're really putting the pressure on the Chiefs. So I got to give them credit too. But if you're asking me in a 1-game scenario in late January, if I'm going to take the Pats or the Broncos, right now I'd take the Pats.
Yeah. 5-0 away from home. Maybe the most surprising stats for them and what they've done this year. And what a job Mike Vrabel has done, as you mentioned, up there in Massachusetts. I want to go over the NFC very quickly and kind of the same thing. Obviously, the Eagles getting the big win Sunday night. They're now going to 8-2. Kind of I don't know if you can have it. Can you be a defending champ that does a quiet 8-2? I don't know if that's possible, but it just feels like that we talk about so many other teams. They just find ways to win every week, no matter what's going on. Jalen Hurts hasn't put up the gaudy numbers, but they're 8-2 and sitting atop the division.
And there's a little drama going around there with A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley hasn't played to the level he did. There's a new offensive coordinator. There's some issues there. But listen, Nick Sirianni is a really good football coach. Kudos to him for putting them in this position. Yeah, they got to figure some things out, but they beat a very good team last night in the Lions, and right now they're the class of the NFC. I think as we sit here right before Thanksgiving, guys, I don't know if there's a dominant team in the NFL. I think you have a team like the Pats and the Eagles who are at the top of their conference now, but it's going to be a really exciting and entertaining playoff, I think, because there are legitimately probably 6 or 8 teams, I think, who can win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. We saw the Rams dominate the Seahawks. I love what Seattle's done this year. And at the same time, the Rams right now also waiting to another team that we're not talking about. And kind of part of what you're saying and the reason why is because there isn't that one dominant team. There are several teams right now, like you said, that look like they can make a deep run in January.
That's what the NFL wants, right? Parity. They get it almost every year. We talk about it almost every year, but that's why their ratings are so high. That's why they're the number one sport in America. They know how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we've kind of talked about these next few weeks right now. Your feeling in terms of they keep the defense going, got to beat Baltimore. I think we've missed about this Steeler team that we need to talk about before we get into this weekend and moving into the weeks ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we touched on the defense. I think depending on what happens with the quarterback situation, their offense was good in the first half of the season. It's kind of struggled the last couple of games. Even when Aaron Rodgers was healthier, it was a bit of a chore for them to move the ball up and down the field. So that offense has to get more consistent. They really got to find ways to get DK Metcalf more involved. He's playing on a $150 million contract, and he's not putting up number one receiver numbers. So they got to get that offense straightened away. We know that game in Baltimore in 3 weeks is going to mean something. For the Steelers' sake, they got to hope that second game against Baltimore in Pittsburgh, last game of the regular season, if that game is going to mean something, this offense has to become more consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned again the big game against actually in Chicago this week against a Bears team. Kind of the cardiac kids. They just keep finding ways to win. I mean, they were down against the Bengals. They were down against the Giants. They win again this week at last second in the final moments. They're 7-3. Are they that good? We'll find out this weekend when Pittsburgh heads to Windy City. Ray, always good to get your insights. We appreciate your time as always. Hopefully you'll find some time for us here before the end of the season. We'll talk again.
Appreciate you guys having me on.
All right. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Ray Fittipaldo, once again, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, talking about the Steelers, 6-4, sitting atop their division, heading into Chicago here this weekend. Okay, we've got more conversation to come. This is the Sports IQ.
Fans of big sports radio and sports spectacular podcasts have a new home on the Chief Sports Network. Find your favorite programs and content all in one place by downloading the Chief Sports app in your mobile device. Created in South Carolina, the Chief Sports Network is the home of an expanding network of live and podcast format programming. It is also the home of one of the leading national college football podcasts, JC and Morgan, hosted by ESPN's Mike Morgan and 24/7 Sports' JC Sherbert. Download the Chief Sports app for free and find all of your favorite programming under one easy umbrella. Thanks to all of our markets for your loyal support of Big Sports Radio and our Sports Spectacular podcast, and we look forward to connecting with you anywhere in the world on the Chief Sports app.
Everything is expensive right now. Gas, food, you name it. You're spending more, you are making the same or less money. So, what do? You rack up credit card debt. That's what you do. It's not your fault. It's the economy. And guess what? If you rack up too much credit card debt like some of us, you can't pay your bills. Then the credit card companies, as nice as they are, start hounding you for money. Then you start your downward spiral. A smart thing for you to do is to call the Zero Debt. They can help you consolidate all your credit card bills into one affordable payment. Millions of people have done it. It works to make you debt-free. Make this free call right now. It costs you nothing to learn more.
800-507-7293. 800-507-7293. 800-507-7293. That's 800-507-7293.
You're listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
You know, I love my stadium talk. I used to just, any city I was in, I would try to look for the stadium, old Tiger Stadium or Yankee Stadium, wherever it was, wherever I was traveling as a kid. I still do that as an adult. What am I saying? By the way, the Chicago Bears Stadium is at a standstill. By the way, first off, the Bears, let's just give credit to the Bears. First time in first place in November since 2018. So let's first off celebrate that. Okay, now the bad news. Stadium plans are stalled. They are still about $1 billion short of the $5 billion price tag to build their new palace in suburban Arlington Heights. No help coming from the state legislature. The Bears completed purchase of the Arlington Heights racetrack almost 3 years ago. It was $197 million. The property is 326 acres. They want a special tax break. That hasn't come either. And by the way, the Illinois governor, J.B. Pritzker, says, hey, Bears, you still owe more than $500 million for the 2003 renovation of Soldier Field. So let's take care of that before we talk about anything else. So anyway, there are some real issues in Chicago. Allegedly, the price tag goes up like several million every month that they delay. They were hoping to get this thing broken ground like back in late summer. Still hasn't happened. Still nothing there. That 2028 opening date is looking real tenuous right now. I don't think it's going to happen because they are nowhere close to getting this thing done unless something miraculous comes in. So stay tuned. Soldier Field, maybe you're home for a while longer. Meanwhile, in San Antonio, the Spurs have a new arena coming earlier this month. The city voting to approve money to build a $1.3 billion new arena in downtown. The Spurs are going to cough up $500 million, so almost half of that. And they're also promising another $1.4 billion in new development all around it. Now, Frostbank Center, their current arena, that's a little over 20 years old. They still have their lease runs through I think 2032. But the word is they're going to retrofit that for the huge, massive rodeo that's there. If you've ever been there, it's right there next to the old Coliseum, and there are a bunch of stables there as well, because the rodeo is a really big deal. But this is part of a revitalized downtown. They're talking about even some possible renovations to the Alamo Dome. So there you go. Speaking of San Antonio, Wemby is out for at least several days, if not longer, with a calf strain. Victor Wembanyama, this is all according to ESPN, he's averaging career highs with 26 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, and his 3.6 blocks per game leads the NBA. So again, he has been off to a fantastic start, but the Spurs without him for the next few games. We'll watch and see what happens there. Last night, Oklahoma City improving to 14-1 as they beat New Orleans on the road, 126-109. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 23 points, 8 assists in that one. Detroit improves to 12-2. They defeat Indiana 112-121. They're now 8-1 at home there at Little Caesars. Jalen Duran with 31 points, 15 rebounds for the Pistons. Cleveland over Milwaukee, 118-106. Donovan Mitchell had 37 points for the Cavs. They improved to 10-5. Tonight, 6 games on the slate in the NBA. Golden State is at Orlando. The Pistons take to the road. They're at Atlanta. And the Lakers at home later on hosting Utah. By the way, we haven't talked about the college football playoff deadline, if they're going to keep it at 12 or expand to 14 or 16. That's coming up pretty quickly. December 1 is 2 weeks away from yesterday. And no decision's been made yet. So there's now some reporting on ESPN that, that December 1st deadline, it's a suggestion. If you got to move it, you got to move it. The reason why, listen, the new contract, ESPN's new contract to broadcast the CFP kicks in 2026. It's the first year of a 6-year deal worth $7.8 billion. Now, listen, if you expand it, guess what? That's more ad revenue, more ad inventory that you can collect revenue from to make money on that deal. So, they're going to take your time. It feels like where everyone left it was going to be at 12. They really couldn't come to an agreement earlier this fall about, getting expanding it to 16 teams or 14 teams. But then again, listen, once the pairings come out and there are teams that are unhappy that they were left out, and there will be. We're going to have some 2-loss teams that are not going to make the playoff. There's going to be a stink raised, and so if you're hoping for a 16-team playoff, listen, your hopes are not dashed. That really could happen very soon. Okay, up next, we've got Austin Nivison from CBS Sports talking NHL on the Sports IQ.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right. For about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back. But you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now. 800-215-0341. 800-215-0341. 800-215-0341. That's 800-215-0341. Packages start at $29.99 a month with signed agreement. Restrictions apply. Speak to a representative for complete offer details. See Vivint.com for license details. Terms and conditions apply.
Homeowners, if you're looking for the best in home security and smart home technology at a price you can actually afford, we have great news. Now you can get Vivint's award-winning home security systems starting at about $1 a day. U.S. News and World Report has recognized Vivint as the best professionally installed home security system of 2022. And right now, you can get Vivint's home security technology for about $1 a day. Plus, get free professional installation from a licensed technician. Protect your home and loved ones for as low as $1 a day. Call right now for your free home security consultation.
800-613-8053. 800-613-8053. 800-613-8053. That's 800-613-8053.
You're locked in to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Let's talk a little NHL right now. Joining us once again from CBS Sports, Austin Nivison. Always good to have you here. The ice is back. Hopefully you're rested from some time off as we get into the first several weeks here of the season. Right now, the Colorado Avalanche with the best record in the NHL. What is going right now in Colorado?
Well, what's going right is their stars are playing like their stars. Nathan McKinnon looks like the best player in the NHL. And Cale Makar looks like he could be the first defenseman to repeat as the Norris Trophy winner since Nicholas Lidstrom did it. So almost 20 years ago. So it's going to be when those two are going, it's tough to beat them. And now they have Martin Necas, who they got from the Hurricanes last year. He's been a perfect fit alongside McKinnon with his speed and skill to match McKinnon's. Those two have worked magic together. When they're on the ice together, the Avalanche are absolutely crushing opponents. So when you have McKinnon and you have Makar and now Necas going as well, sometimes it doesn't matter what's going on lower in the lineup, because those guys can erase a lot of mistakes. Not even really that Colorado's making mistakes when those guys aren't out there, but when those three are going, it's a nightmare to play against those guys.
Yeah, I want to jump over to the Atlantic Division now. If you had Boston, Detroit, and Montreal 1, 2, and 3 in that division at the quarter pole of the season, people would probably have you committed. What is happening right now in the Atlantic?
Yes. The Boston Bruins are absolutely lighting up the scoreboard. One of the hottest teams in the league, which I predicted before the season. Don't go back and read what I wrote. Just trust me on that. But really, I mean, David Pastrnak has been unbelievable for the Bruins. He's an early Hart Trophy candidate for me, just because he has so much responsibility on his shoulders offensively and defensively on the team, and he's able to drive the offense almost single-handedly. Now, Morgan Geekie deserves credit, because last year he scored around 30 goals, and I was like, oh, that's a nice one-off season. That's a nice outlier season for him. Well, now he's on pace for even more this year. So kudos to him for kind of replicating that effort. Now, Obviously, 20 games in, can they keep this up? We'll see, but they've already made me foolish to this point, so why couldn't they keep making me look foolish the rest of the way?
We assume nothing, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Toronto had the great run in the playoffs last year. Thought they would come back and possibly contend. Is it time though for the Leafs to panic at this point? This has not been a good start to the season there in Toronto.
No, it has not. And I mean, who could have guessed, letting a 100-point player who can play in all three zones like Mitch Marner can, who could have guessed that could have hurt your team? And they didn't do much to replace that. I think he gets underrated defensively a lot. And that's an area where Toronto could really use some help this year because they have some guys like Jake McCabe, for example, who's been good the last year or two for them. He seems to have fallen off a bit this year. And it's really troubling because, they still lack some forward depth. And now they have one less talented forward, like elite forward to lean on. And the defense has gotten older. It's not quite as good. I think the goaltending is still a little bit unsettled in Toronto. So I do think there is some cause for concern. Now, Austin Matthews, William Nylander, John Tavares, Matthew Knies, you have some of those guys on your team, like you're going to still be able to win some games. I do think that they can get back into this thing. The East is so tight. There's no separation between, playoff teams and non-playoff teams right now, that there's still plenty of time to get back into it. I do wonder about like Coach Craig Berube's seat. They need to make a move to maybe get some more juice back in that locker room or what. So, but yeah, Toronto definitely needs to be at least a little nervous right now.
Yeah, no question. Meanwhile, in Chicago, the Connor Bedard Blackhawks actually in hunt for a playoff spot. They're playing some good hockey right now. Can they keep that going through the long part of the season here?
Yeah, that's been fun to watch, and I actually should be coming out in the next day or two. I have a piece on Bedard, Macklin Celebrini of the Sharks, and Leo Carlson of the Ducks as kind of the next wave of NHL stars that are kind of taking up that mantle because they've all gotten off to huge starts, highly drafted players, top 2 picks, all of them. And they're kind of asserting themselves as like, hey, we're here. This is our time now. And Bedard is kind of leading the way on that. Last year, it's good to see because last year Bedard kind of took a step backwards, I thought, after a great rookie season. He's bounced back now. And he's been a little bit more, he seems to be playing more confidence this year, I think, more than anything else. And I don't know if that has to do with the coaching change or what, but I do feel like Bedard is back to playing with that confidence, that swagger he had as a rookie. As a team, I don't know if the Blackhawks can keep this up. Spencer Knight is great in goal, and he might be able to keep them in most games. But the underlying numbers, the 5-on-5 numbers, the Blackhawks are really outplaying all their expected goals numbers. And I don't necessarily expect that to continue. But for now, if you're a Blackhawks fan, no matter what happens, you at least have to be encouraged by Bedard and some of the younger guys like Frank Nazar stepping up.
Yeah, they enter the week 22 points as we talk with Austin Nivison of CBS Sports, getting our NHL fix right now. Speaking of entering the week, Edmonton, after back-to-back trips to the finals, -8 in the scoring department. And right now, what are the issues right there for the Oilers?
This is a pretty familiar spot for the Oilers. It seems like they do this every year, and then you look up in June, and you're like, oh, they're in the Stanley Cup final again. But it is the same old stuff with them. It's a lack of depth scoring, and the goaltending is shaky. And this is, I think, a reason why Connor and McDavid signed such a short-term extension there right at the start of the season, because if Edmonton can't fix these same issues that they deal with year after year, I mean, if you're Connor McDavid, you have to say, okay, I'm going to go try to find maybe a team that can, and they could still turn this around, obviously, but they have very few options below McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, guys like that up front. Now, getting Zach Hyman back, who just came back from injury, should help, but still, I mean, it's Groundhog Day all over again with this team. But I do expect them to, look, Connor McDavid can single-handedly, he and Draisaitl can single-handedly win you plenty of games. So I do think they'll be fine. And the Pacific Division is very, I think, kind of weak. So I think they'll be fine. But but certainly another frustrating start for this team.
You mentioned Groundhog Day. Maybe bring Bill Murray to sit behind the bench or something, just to kind of change up the juju there. I want to get back over the East. We mentioned the Maple Leafs, but the Capitals and Panthers all right now on the outside looking in. Those three teams, Washington, Florida, and Toronto. Which of those three do you think has the best chance of turning things around and getting into the playoffs?
It's probably got to be the Panthers, just because given their pedigree, and the fact that, look, Matthew Tkachuk is going to come back at some point. We know that. I think even next month sometime, possibly. So once they get him back, I do think that this team is going to be, pretty good. The thing is, they've had trouble scoring goals outside of really Brad Marchand and Sam Reinhart. So it was shocking that they got Marchand re-signed in the offseason, but they're lucky they did, because if they lost him, they wouldn't have their leading scorer right now. He's been brilliant. So relying on those two guys, but guys like Carter Verhaeghe, Sam Bennett, I do think they'll eventually get going here. It's just this team's played a lot of hockey over the last 3 years. 3 straight Cup final runs, 2 straight Cup wins. That's a lot of hockey. That takes a toll on any team, eventually. And, they may be getting, kind of getting their sea legs back under them. But I have no doubt that by the time, March rolls around, we'll be looking at the Panthers saying, oh, nobody wants to play them in the playoffs.
Yeah, they kind of figured out how to do this, right?
Yeah.
Once again, the Sabres entering on year 30 or something of their rebuild. Will this franchise ever get things figured out?
That's a good question. I think, Nixon was president last time they made. No, but I do
feels like it
is. Yeah, it certainly does. But like you said, it's an every year issue with this team. I still have questions about their goaltending, which seems to be the case every year. And their young defensemen, like Owen Power, a former number 1 pick, has not really lived up to that. That's been an issue for them. They've kind of banked on a guy like him to step up and take their defense to another level. Right now, it seems like Rasmus Dahlin is kind of carrying that load a little bit. And again, it goes back to forward depth too. I think Josh Doan, who came over from Utah, has been great for them, but it's a lot on Tage Thompson, it's a lot on Alex Tuck. So it's almost a similar situation to the Oilers, except they don't have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl there. It's a lack of depth up front. There's some defensive questions, and then the goaltending is really, really unstable. So, it's become an every year issue, and I don't know that. I think at this point you have to look at it and say it's probably an ownership issue if they're not willing to invest in some of this stuff. If it's been going on this long, over multiple 10 years, GM and head coach, you kind of have to look above that to figure out what the issue is.
Yeah, and to be accurate, by the way, it's only 2011.
Yes.
So it feels like it's been
yes.
back to the Nixon years, Reagan even. Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, 20. So it's been 14, going on 15 years right now. Want to talk about New Jersey as well. Right now, entering the week, sitting atop the Metropolitan. Can the Devils keep this hot play up?
Well, it's a good question, especially now after Jack Hughes is out for 8 weeks with an injury he suffered at a team dinner, which you can't make this stuff up. The guy is, he's had health issues the whole time. He's been healthy to start the season. He's looked great, and then that happens, and he's out for 2 months. I think the Devils were already a team that probably needed to go make a move, because I do think they have a lot of the ingredients to be a cup contender. Now with Jack Hughes out for this long, I do think you need to go make a move. The 2 names that come to mind, in order to keep this up are here in town in Nashville. Ryan O'Reilly is a veteran guy, good 2-way center that could offer them more depth there. The Predators are off to a terrible start. They're going to start selling off soon, I have to imagine. And then the same thing in Calgary is going on. And I do think Nazem Kadri is a name there to watch, because he could provide some skill, some toughness. He could, play on the power play like Jack Hughes. So they have some options, and I do think there's enough around them. Jesper Bratt is a great player. And then they have Dawson Mercer has really stepped up. So they have pieces to keep this going, maybe not the same level without Jack Hughes, but if they really want to compete to win that division, I do think they need to look for a replacement outside the organization.
Absolutely. I've got about 45 seconds left before I got to hit a break. That we've already mentioned a lot of teams. Is there a team that we haven't talked about that's kind of your surprise so far here in the early season?
Yeah, I would say probably the Anaheim Ducks. They've kind of come along. The young guys have all come along. First year under Joel Quenneville, Leo Carlson, the former number 2 overall pick, is really blossomed. He looks amazing. And so this team seems to finally be taking the next step after years of kind of fooling people into thinking they were. But yeah, I think it's for real. It might be for real this year.
Fair enough. Austin, we know you are super busy. We appreciate your time as always and your insights. Have a great week, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much. Austin Nivison joining us, our friend from CBS Sports, talking NHL, and be sure to give him a follow on social media as well. All right. We've got more to come on the Sports IQ.
Life can be full of risks. One thing you shouldn't take a risk with ever is your family's health insurance. If you're self-employed or you now need affordable health insurance, you need to make this free call right now and see how the Health Insurance Helpline can help you get it. We specialize in helping the self-employed and people just like you that need affordable health insurance to get it. We have short and long-term health insurance plans, and some even cover dental, vision, and prescription drugs. Don't take a risk with your family's health insurance. It's not worth it. If you're self-employed or now need affordable health insurance, call right now and learn for free how to get it. Listen, affordable health insurance plans for everyone just like you are a free phone call away. So give us a shout right now.
800-373-8414. 800-373-8414. 800-373-8414. That's 800-373-8414. Hey, airline travelers, let's say you have a problem and you need to change or cancel an existing airline reservation. What do? Well, Skywatch is a free service that can help anyone with any airline reservation fix it. Whether you want to cancel it, change your dates, or add passengers, we can help fix your airline reservations so you get exactly what you need. We've updated our computer database and now have access to every airline around the globe. So now you can make one phone call regardless of who booked your airline tickets, and we'll change it, cancel it, and fix it for you. We know the insider secrets to fixing reservations that the airlines don't want you to know about. So if you need to cancel, change, or modify an existing airline reservation, call Skywatch right now. It's a free call, so let us fix it for you. 800-413-7158. 800-413-7158. 800-413-7158. That's 800-413-7158.
Welcome back here to the show. Thanks to Austin once again for his insights on the ice. Give me puck. We got puck. There you go. It's funny. Usually on Tuesdays, we take this time of the show to, kind of review the week in the NFL. Now that Monday night is over and the week is complete. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to sugarcoat this at all. I had little interest in last night's Cowboys-Raiders game. I just didn't. Saw it on, checked out the score, moved on to something else. Look, when you have two franchises that the networks hope, hey, this could be a good game, Cowboys, Raiders, both with a good following. Yeah. Had no interest. So, hey, Dak had a big game, 4 touchdowns. Obviously, we talked about Pickens, but okay, we move on. Producer Tony, you've talked several times here during the season about the Chiefs. And we've talked about, how last year things just fell right for them. They've shown signs this year of kind of getting back into that form. They've had some big wins. But it really felt like this loss to Denver on Sunday was in some ways kind of a passing of the torch in the AFC West.
Yeah, they just can't seem to separate themselves right now from the pack, Larry. They're just struggling. I mean, last year they played almost every game was a 1-score game. They're still in that. Well, last year, the ball all bounced Kansas City's way. Yeah. This year, the ball is bouncing the other way. And if you look at their remaining schedule, it's not easy. They're sitting at 5-5, so they have 7 games left. They're going to play Indy at home. Then they got to go to what looks to be a little bit of a rejuvenated Dallas team. Adding Quinnen Williams seems to be helping that defense, along with Kenny Clark in the middle. So maybe there could be something there for Dallas the remainder of the season. They've still got to play Houston, then a rematch game with the Chargers. Then you've got the Titans coming up, then the rematch with Denver, and closing out at Vegas. Now, you take a look, there's 2 easy wins in there. Vegas and Tennessee, they should get. The other ones are all going to be a toss-up. And to me, they need to run the table to make the playoffs. That's a rough stretch to go. And even at that point, you're going to finish 12-5. That may not be enough to win the division if the Broncos keep doing what they're doing. So Chiefs fans, you may not make the playoffs this year. I think this game against the Colts, must win. Can't lose it. You lose it, season's over, pack it in.
Yeah. Because to your point, you're probably going to lose at least one more. 10-7, does that get you in? I mean, we don't know what everyone else is going to do, to your point, but yeah, it gets dicey at that point. If you're 10-7, it's going to be tough to do as competitive as the AFC is. You mentioned about the Chiefs, the ball bouncing, and we talked about that they just found ways to win in the second. They were down so many times in the third quarter, but found ways to make stops. Mahomes, does his magic, and they eke out with a win again, all the way to the Super Bowl when the Eagles, didn't make any mistakes, and they just really dominated the game from start to finish. On the other side this year, you mentioned, and we were talking some of the notes you put together, that Denver, by the way, has played 8 one-score games. So while they're 8-2, they very easily could be 5-5, much the way Kansas City was last year.
Exactly. I mean, Denver's not, if you're looking at who's really dominating the AFC, I've got to put the Colts and Patriots ahead of Denver. Yeah, they're winning. But man, everything is a one-score game. Everything is coming down to a kick at the end. Everything is coming down to one last drive. I don't think Bo Nix has been as good this year as he was last year. He seems to have taken a half step back at least. I'm not sure what is going on with the Denver offense, but they are struggling to score points. Luckily, their defense has been stellar, keeping them in a lot of games. They've even managed to cover for not having Patrick Surtain this past weekend, and it didn't hurt them. They ended up coming away with the win to Kansas City. But that's a team that is really living on the edge, I think, more than some of the others. The Patriots are kind of dominating the games that they've been in. That defense is really strong, and Drake May is that quarterback who's taken the next step, it seems, this year. So a real changing of the guard in the AFC. And, you look at Buffalo, and they're right where they've always been at this time of year with 2 or 3 losses. You say, okay, maybe they're done. The problem I see this year is they are relying solely on Josh Allen. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was a Superman performance Sunday to get that win against Tampa. The defense is, let's face it, the Buffalo defense is horrible. How they managed to stop the Chiefs 2 weeks ago, I have no idea. But they can't stop anybody. They're giving up 200 yards rushing, 150 yards, 70 yards. You're not winning a playoff game giving up over 150 yards, unless Allen comes and rips that jersey open and there is an S underneath that shirt, because he's carrying that franchise.
Yeah, he really is. In more ways we knew. I mean, he's league MVP. He's lived up to that, but boy, it has really been at a price. He's going to be sore every Monday, no question about that. Bills and Chiefs, 2 teams we thought might meet in the AFC Championship game as this season began. Now struggling Chiefs, we don't know. Bills, we don't know either. We'll see where they go. Okay, Tony, appreciate that. Our moment of awe is up next.
How is your car payment treating you? What if I told you you could make a free phone call right now and reduce your car payment by as much as $83 a month? Look at your car payment closely. You could be paying as high as 20% interest. Rate Genius can help you reduce your car payments by reducing your interest rate to as low as 2.48% APR. We can refinance most existing car loans or leased cars, new or used, and save you money every month. Put more money back in your pocket. The call is free to find out how low we can lower your car payment. 5 minutes of your time right now could save you hundreds of dollars a year. Call Rate Genius now.
800-425-1161. 800-425-1161. 800-425-1161. That's 800-425-1161.
Not all applicants qualify for a loan or rate
savings. Actual offer terms, including APR, are determined at the time of your application based on creditworthiness, value of the vehicle, loan term, and other factors.
Attention business owners. Have you filed for your employee retention credit and been approved? Are you now waiting for your refund check from the IRS? Instead of waiting months to a year plus, how would you like to get your ERC money in about 10 days? Now you can. With ERCmoneyUpfront.com, we help business owners that have filed their employee retention credit and been approved to get their money faster. If you're getting between $75,000 and $5 million, we could get you up to a 70% advance on that money in about 10 days. To learn more about how you can get your ERC money faster, call this number right now. Speak with one of our funding specialists and have a text sent to your cell phone with details.
800-279-0419. 800-279-0419. 800-279-0419. That's 800-279-0419.
This is not a loan product except in California. An offer is not available in the state of Massachusetts.
Time now for a moment of awe, and I guess our moment of ow. It was on this date back in 1985 when Joe Theismann of the Washington then Redskins was sacked by Lawrence Taylor of the Giants, and a leg injury that was so gruesome it ended his 12-year career. Those of us who saw it exactly 40 years ago tonight remember Taylor frantically screaming at the sidelines, grasping his helmet and waving frantically for the medical staff as Theismann laid there with a compound fracture of his lower leg. In fact, Joe Theismann, who never met a camera he didn't like, actually invited the cameras into his hospital room after surgery and did a live interview. I believe it was on Good Morning America, a time when you just didn't see that very often. So it's back before, smartphones and cell phones and all that stuff. It just didn't happen. But anyway, Joe Theismann, the Joe Theismann injury that everyone still talks about 40 years ago today is when that happened. Our moment of ow, if you will. Thanks to our guests, Ray Fittipaldo, also Austin Nivenson. Thanks to you as always for joining us. It's a Sports IQ. Make it a great Tuesday, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith, Monday through Friday. Continue the conversation at Sports IQ LS. We'll see you next time.